welcome back to another video with me, JD. Look, I've been getting bugged for a few weeks now for a fantasy team update, so that's going to be the purpose of this video. I promised to try and get one out when I got home, and look, here I am. And I also thought I'd just quickly go over some thoughts from the Thursday night game, which is nice to have Thursday football back, but a very weird one from a Supercoach and fantasy perspective. So thought I'd throw in my 2 cents this week, because really, I mean, there's a lot of underperforming primos in this game, and in particular, it was Steele and Lloyd. And who to start with? I guess I'll start with Lloyd. So I wasn't a big fan of this pick during the week. If you listen to any of my stuff, either the FantasyTakeTV podcast or my own stuff, you'd know that. But even by my standards, this was a strange game with Lloyd being pushed up onto the wing, where he played the first 3 quarters. And yeah, they ran too many defenders, but why it would be Lloyd that was the one that was pushed up to the wing over some of the others was a little bit of a strange decision to me. And that had a flow-on effect where it then seemed to push Goulden up into the forward line, where he played most of the game as well. And so he also had a pretty poor evening, and you can kind of see that reflected in both their scores. Goulden the 63, Lloyd the 74. Now, the one thing that Lloyd did benefit from was Blakey, who had a concussion, being subbed off kind of late in that third quarter. In the last quarter, Lloyd put 50 points on the board, kicked a goal, had about 10, 11, 12 touches. So it's really hard to know with this pick what to expect going forward. Next week, you should be fine with Blakey out of the side. But I don't think we saw anything representative of Lloyd. I don't think he continues to play wing for the rest of the year. And what we saw in the fourth quarter with no Blakey, the scaling, all that good stuff against, Saints that concede a lot to defenders, I also don't think that was representative. So, we're not going to get 50-point quarters out of him that frequently. So where he lands from here, I'm really not sure. If I was asked to predict what his average would have been, I would have said something like 90 to 100. And maybe that's still probably about where I sit. But if he goes up into the wing role, it's worse than that, and may even be a must trade for those that brought him in. And then we had Steele, who was like, this is really bizarre as well. He looked really, really poor for the first half. His third quarter was great, and then he kind of went missing in the fourth again. I don't know what we're expecting from him from here. To be honest, like the first half, it looked like he was still carrying an injury. It looked like the week off wasn't enough rest for him. He still had more to go. Then in the third quarter, he looked good. And this is a little bit of what we've seen from him in the weeks leading up to the bye as well, where he had one game good, a couple games poor. And I don't know what's happening here. I can't believe that he was basically one of the top couple of players in 2021. And now he just looks like a average footballer. It's really hard to say because I like Steele a lot, and someone that I was considering both Supercoach and fantasy sides at the moment. I think if you don't have him, you steer clear. And for those that do have him, maybe you just hold on during the buys and hope he comes good. But this is a really tough watch at the moment, and I don't really have any clear advice on what to do because I can't pinpoint what's wrong. I think it just must be that he's carrying something. And I feel like a lot of people that have brought him in as an option have been looking for that cheaper choice and just don't have the trades to move him on anyway. So I think you just hold and wait for a turnaround. If that doesn't work, maybe you swap him out to someone like a Mills if Mills comes back and looks good, or if Cripps is able to turn things around post-buy. But yeah, this is a tough watch. I do feel bad. I brought him in. We'll go over my fantasy trades in a minute, but I did bring him in one week and I traded him back out like a week or two later. So I already got sucked in on him once. So I guess other premiums to talk about in this game were Sinclair and Marshall. So Marshall looked really good top to bottom, 51 hitouts. Wow, I'm surprised that he only scored a 124. I thought his game was better than that. I thought he was probably best on for the Saints as well. And then Sinclair was instrumental, and this was also confusing. Another confusing move out of the horse camp of coaching. He was tagged by Clark for the first quarter or so, which seemed to work really well, and then it was dropped somewhere in the second, I want to say it was. I missed a little bit of that reading bedtime books for the kids. But yeah, then I was surprised to see him come on and absolutely blitz it in the second half and get no attention from that point on. I thought he was probably the most instrumental player for the Saints in the second half when it came to actually mounting that comeback and being able to open up the game with a little bit of drive of half back, which Saints had otherwise been lacking, that forward push and getting speed on the ball until Sinclair was freed up a bit. So very very confusing game. The last thing I guess I'll quickly touch on is the rookies. So Windhager and Sheldrick, uh, both really interesting options. So I didn't go on either of them because I mean Windhager's been out of form, and I didn't really know what role he was going to play. He's what had 6 games this year and hasn't scored well on them with like various roles, especially forward. So looking to see him come back and play on ball was a really good sign. He butchered it a fair bit, and that does make me worry a little bit for whether or not he holds, especially if Bytel's back next week. But if he does, I think he's probably a pretty good option to pick up from here, just given that Hunter Clark's out another 5 weeks. And then on the Swan side, Sheldrick is known accumulator, really good scoring in the twos. And we actually got to see him play on the ball this week, and I thought he looked pretty good for the most part. It seemed like he was going head to head with Steele for a lot of the game and actually getting the better of him at parts, which is always promising. The concern with Sheldrick is that we still have Parker to come back, and then Mills is only a week or two behind as well, most likely. So does Sheldrick hold in the next couple of weeks? And even if he does hold, will he continue to get mid-time, or will we see him get pushed forward or to a wing or be used as a sub? And I guess that'd be my concern with him. But if you could guarantee me his job security, I would be all over Sheldrick. I think both of them are going to be very strong considerations next week just because they've already come off their bye. And really, I only need them for 2 more weeks in both formats. I need to get round 14, round 15 done. And then if they get dropped after that, so be it. But both of them will be in consideration despite elevated price tags. All right, I'll quickly go through, I guess, my Supercoach team at the moment, which hasn't really changed too much, and then I'll jump into the fantasy stuff, I promise. So the trades that I threw up, which were a little bit of raid trades, was Zeeble and Sheasel out for Neil and Brayshaw, and to be honest, that still looks like what I'm going to do at the moment. The vice captain is on English, and then captain's on Brayshaw, but this could be Laird, it could be Merritt, it could be Dunkley. There's still a few that I'm tossing up here, so I'm not really sure where the captaincy will land, and I'm hoping Tim English will sort it out for me so I don't really have to think too hard. The other thing that's kind of disappointing about my setup at the moment is Johnson is an emergency. I've got no way of getting his points on the field, which is really annoying because, I'd rather play him over someone like Ford or even maybe like a Sincotta, but yeah, it is what it is. Okay, and then fantasy. All right, so this is where the team was of last week. Overall ranked 52nd. I had the 20th ranked round week, but I don't think I've updated the team since about round 7. So let's talk through there. I think this is round 7. So I was like, overall ranking about 1,000 at this point. And I think the team was okay in terms of cash gen, but I did make a lot of poor trades, I think, through this period of time. And so just like quickly, last year when I finished 60th or whatever, I feel like I traded too conservatively in the sense that I kept like seeking value or fixing rookies when I should have been getting to top line premiums and really pushing my advantage. And so this year I started off really strong with cash generation and didn't want to make the same mistake, but I probably overcorrected where I just started going one up, one down really aggressively to top line players and then to bottom basement rookies. And that stung because a lot of the 200k rookies haven't come on and you really needed to pay up. So I think there's probably a lesson in that to play the middle ground next year and to tailor it to what's going on. But let's start with here. So, traded in Sincotta and Bont for Ashcroft and Chandler, and these were not the prices I got for these two. I wish it showed what it was, but this was way too early on Ashcroft, which really hurt because, this is round 7. You could see I traded him out to, they went 115, 61, 109, 127. So put, 3 massive tons up and scored a bunch of cash. And I think Chandler also had a ton the week I traded him out to. Yep, 106. And he was poor after that. So, look, it wasn't the end of the world because I'm sure anyone that had him fielded for 106 probably fielded some of these poor scores as well. But, that wasn't good trading. I'd say Bontin has been really nice, especially the last couple of weeks. And Sincotta, everyone got him in and then had to trade him out. But, yeah, this Ashcroft out early was bad. And, it compounded, I think it was, Butters in here was good. Wasn't Jimby. I think it was round 5 or 4 where I traded out, bloody 4 straight to the injuries. Round 4, here it was. Traded out Warple, and I don't know how much he was around 4, but it was not this much. So anyway, this is the thing. I traded out too aggressively some of these players, and it bit me a little bit. All right, round 8. I jumped up a fair bit in round 8, so a 381 overall after a 360th ranked round. Trades this week were Setterfield out and Fergus out for Drury and Steele. Oh my god, these are terrible trades. As I said, I made some bad trades from round 7, so the rest of my team carried me here. It was definitely not the trades. Setterfield out was one that I just saw the writing on the wall that this was going to be no good, and that looked to be the case. Round 8. I mean, oh yeah, like he had that 54. He was playing more wing, and look, yeah, he had a couple of decent, like average scores, and then everyone had to trade him out. Anyway, Steele in here was a disaster. I was picking between Steele and Brayshaw, and I picked the wrong one. And then Drury just wasn't the right call here. Anyway. All right, round 9. Let's see where we were at. So overall ranking stayed about the same. Had a poor rank in terms of week score, and then traded out. So I traded out Pedler probably slightly too early here. What was it? Yeah, he went 80 that week. It must have been. This is round 9. Yeah, it must have gone 90 the week after I traded him out, or 80. This happened a lot this year. I traded them out. They've gone big. Just not good trading. And then Wilmot. I mean, yeah, he had a poor score, and then he had a couple of good ones. He would have been good or handy buy cover now, assuming he scores all right. And then in, so yeah, another 200k dud. I think I was weighing up with O'Donnell, the Dogs one, and he's still playing now, so that would have been the better choice. And then Powell. Oh yeah, okay. So this is the week that everyone's going crazy. This week and last week on the Gold Coast guys in terms of Atkins and Fiorini, and I didn't like Atkins or Fiorini. I thought with Weller's injury, there's a chance Powell kicks on as a primo here and ends up being both value and good cash gen, but yeah, as you can see, just poor scores from here on out, and he's a forced trade already by this point. So yeah, this was a disaster of another week. So what, I'm ranked 52nd now, but round 7 was bad trades. Round 8 was bad trades. Round 9 was bad trades. Let's see if we picked up in round 10, because that's like way too many weeks of just poor trading in a row. Overall ranks dropped off now. All right, Steele back out. Yeah, he's a fraud. We got in Merritt, which is good, and then got in Sharp, which was bad. Synchrona for Sharp, what a disaster. Still, like, only one out of those 2 trades is good, and I had to sideways, so it wasn't even, like, a great trade. Round 11. So round rank of, oh, this is last week, 26. Overall moving up to 136. I had to trade out Josh Kelly, which is unfortunate, and I got rid of Cow and moved on Red Dot for Wardlaw and Laird been all right, and then round 12, which was last week, first week of bye. So Powell, Hollins, and Ryan out for Cameron, Humphrey, and Briggs. Good combination of like, well, actually, this is mainly cash generation play, and then Humphrey was buys. I was like having to trade out Will Powell here was really bad because he was meant to help me get an extra number through the buys. Hollins, I thought would play through the buys before I could flip at the end, and Samson Ryan, I thought I'd get like a little bit of cover out of him before I had to flip. So to have move these players on at this point was really bad because my worst buy is probably round 14, and none of these this trade actually hurt it. Like I got an extra round 14 player off the last week's trades, even though they were good for cash gen and overall. And that brings us to the round 13 team where we're at today. So what, we're at 212 off just Marshall and Goulden. Didn't bring in Sinclair. No interest in Lloyd. No interest in Steele. And still no interest in Steele. But I am interested in Neil. So Zeeble out for Neil is probably the first trade. I think Zeeble looked very average last week. And then I was hoping that some of these rookies would get named, like Sharp, Fleeton or Chesser, like Drury maybe, like just anyone to give me some warm bodies, but not to be. So I think Davey's going to be out for MJ this week, who I really fancy even at the elevated price tag. And then I'm likely moving on. I think it might be Sharp for Sin as my last one, which isn't great because I do need help with the last buy round. And he's not playing. Honestly, it would have been great if that was probably Sheldrick at this point, but hey. So I think this is my last one. Where am I putting these players? I guess I'm looping them. Loopholing these two. Oh, I could play... No, hold on. Hunt goes on the field, and then Johnson plays here. All right, there we go. Everyone's on. So yeah, so that's the team this week. Yeah, vice captain English, much like super coach, and then captain. I'm not sure here. It could be. It's probably Dunkley. I think he's found some good form. Hawks should be all right to score on. I need to double check that. Uh, Otherwise, it'll be someone like Merritt or Laird. Even Dawson's got a like decent matchup, but I probably won't go Dawson. So yeah, so that's the team this week. Oh, Van Ruin's like a loophole, really. Okay, but that's what that's 22 playing. I mean, I assume that'll be the same for most people. It's pretty boring. But then next week's going to be the tough one, which I can it even show me next week with all my. No, it's not going to show the buys. Of course, that's like paywalled. So yeah, so next week then what are the trades? Honestly, I wanted to get rid of Sheasel this week as well before he lost more money and get in someone like a Brayshaw or Sarong, but it's just not going to happen. So I think next week it's going to be 3 from the round 14 buyout to set up the side. So it'll be players out like Chesser if I can. Oh, Van Ruin will definitely go next week. Hunt will go next week. Been an amazing starting pick, but yeah, both of those two will go next week. And I don't think it'll be Day. I know some people are interested in trading at Day. I don't think it'll be Day. It probably like some of these bum rookies like Drury, Chesser, and Hunt out. And if Fife goes well, I'll be looking at Fife, Windhager, Sheldrick, these types. It's no upgrades, which is really bad. I think I'm going to fall behind some of the other teams around this point because I have to fix red dots where they can upgrade. Hopefully, it sets me up well for the back end of the year, but I think that'll be the plan. And then round 15, it'll be Briggs probably back out. He will have made his money hopefully by that point, and there's no point holding it all on the bench, even if he can still cash gen more. So Briggs out, Sheasel out, and probably like Wardlaw or someone else like that out. So 3 more off the last buy, and just bringing in whoever I can off the middle buy that I still want or whatever it may be. But at this point, it's a little bit tricky. Like I'm missing mids for sure. Oliver probably hasn't lost enough money. Brayshaw's getting probably a little bit too top price. Doherty's got that last buy. Maybe Sarong could be a look. Walsh is losing money. I might be interested in him in a pickup towards the like post his buy as the last mid upgrade. Anderson's lost a lot of value. Just he hasn't played as well, so it's someone I could look at, I guess. Yeah, defenders are quite hard. I mean, maybe it is Sinclair after tonight, like Sinclair and Doherty, the last two that I want in defense. That could be it. So yeah, Sinclair I think is an option. Maybe even as early as like next week for Hunt or something like that. Upgrade to Sinclair. But I mean, I do have so Stewart's in there. Then replace Sheasel with Sinclair. I think I'd be happy with that back six. And then maybe like luxury at one point would be Data Doherty. In the midfield, I think I'm pretty happy with these mids so far. Like I don't want to trade any of them back out. Maybe like Neil will be a luxury upgrade towards the very back end of the year. Mids, I think I want like Oliver. I feel like is still one of the 3 that I need to grab at some point. Walsh, maybe if Carlton turns things around, and then like could look at like Steele or Mills cheap if they get their act together, but I'm not sure that's going to happen. And the forward line, I think I'm done, right? Yeah, I am with Darcy Cameron in there as well. Provide some ruck cover too. So it's just really the 3 mids that I need, and then Sinclair here, maybe upgrade Data Doherty at some point. Or sorry, upgrade. Oh yeah, I've got to get rid of Sheasel as well. All right, I still need 3 defenders probably. No, I've got Stewart. So it's Sinclair, Stewart, and then Doherty or something at some point. All right, so that's roughly the team and where we're thinking what the plans are. So apologies for not having done more frequent fantasy updates videos, especially given like I've been going okay. There's been some bad trades and some bad rounds, but overall like still up and hopefully in contention for 2 hats in my first 2 years of playing. We'll see how we go from here. There's still a long way to run. It's a little bit different to Supercoach, where if you're in a good spot at this point, you can kind of just cruise to the end. For fantasy, you can definitely still fall out, and I'm sure there'll be some teams sitting outside the 500 at the moment that are absolutely like really strong and will come home super strong. So yeah, that's everything for now. Hope your weeks are going well, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.